Hey YouTube, this is White One Auto. So we checking back in again today. And in today's video, really just talking. We're gonna go over some components and talk about why you need to have a plan for your vehicle. And you will hear some complaining from me. So if you don't want to hear talking and complaining, I'm gonna give you a chance to log off right now. So since you decided to stick around, I'm gonna talk about something. It is very, very important for you to have a plan for your build and stick with it. Because as you can see right now, this is a G body. It's got a Quick Performance 9-inch in it, which is a very, very good product. It's got double adjustable shocks. It's got double adjustable uppers, tubular lower control arms, a very good anti-sway bar that is installed incorrectly. And all of this right here is 100% overkill for this car. This setup right here, I believe this rear axle alone is probably $3,600 by the time you add the brakes and the TrueTrack and the painting and the upgraded axles. That is very good, but this car that it is in makes nowhere near 600 horsepower. And now you got these very nice Viking double adjustable shocks on it. You have tubular lower control arms, which I think is a must. But I would recommend that if you were gonna put lower control arms in your car, at least get the double adjustable ones so you can center your wheel in the wheel opening. And I do like the double adjustable uppers that the car has on here. But this right here is probably an easy $5,000 worth of stuff that he or she could have saved a lot of money on. You could have rebuilt the 7.5 in this car with axles, a TrueTrack, a 410 and everything for a lot less than $3,600. And believe it or not, a correctly built 7.5 will hold up. I have had a 7.5 with slicks on it, which I don't recommend, but it has been into the 11s. And I know that's not fast to everybody, but I'm gonna tell you right now, the majority of cars that drive around on the street do not run 11-second quarter miles. Everybody think, oh yeah, I got a 10-second and 9-second car. Trust me, when you put that car on the track, it will show you how fast your car is. So what I'm saying is this is overkill. He could have rebuilt the 7.5 in here very nice and very strong for maybe $1,700, and the thing would have been bulletproof. And then you could have took that money and put it in your engine and making your engine a lot more bulletproof. Also, another point I want to talk about is QA1 makes a single adjustable coilover conversion kit for this car. It's $750. I would much rather recommend you, instead of buying double adjustable shocks for a street car and new coil springs, that you spend that $750 and buy that QA1 single adjustable coilover kit. This car right here is a build we did. It's got a Crane Engine LS turbo 400 transmission, and it makes over 500 horsepower. This car here has a 7.5 in it that we built here at White One Auto. New Moser axles, Eden TrueTrack, a rear end cover. We also added the Wilwood disc brakes, which Wilwood doesn't make a kit for, but we can modify it and make it work here. This car also has just the QA1 coilovers on it. And it also has a UMI double adjustable lower control arm on it. So that lets this wheel get centered in the car, as well as I like the coilovers because they give you the adjustability to set your ride height. Now, right now, this wheel is not tucked up underneath the fender. But this guy here normally rides with 4 people in the car. So when he puts 4 people in it and he is riding, the wheel is tucked up underneath there. So that's why the suspension sits the way it does on this car, because I know the way the owner uses it. But let's go back to this car here. Now, although you do have these very great double adjustable shocks, you cannot adjust the ride height here. You cannot center your wheel in the wheel opening after you get all of that done, because you don't have any adjustability back here. So this $5,000 that he or she spent back here was a complete waste, because it does not go with the theme of the vehicle. This anti-roll bar right here is really something that you would see in like a racing setup. This guy is not racing this car at all. He's driving this car to and from work, trying to have fun, trying to burn a little bit of rubber stoplight to stoplight. But this happens when you have a builder that doesn't know what he or she is doing. Because when he said, yeah, I'm buying this and buying this, he should have talked him out of it and said, no, instead of spending $5,000 back here at the rear end of the car, let's spend $2,500 and put that other $2,500 toward rebuilding your engine so your car runs and drives. Because when this car came to me, although it's got all these nice shiny components on it, it didn't run and drive. So there's no point in having $5,000 back here in your rear end and you got a $1,500 or a $700 engine in the front of the car. That's fucking stupid. You want the car to run and drive. So what you should first, as I'm always gonna say, and I'm gonna go back to my car to point this out. The first thing you need to have with any car is you need to have a budget. And when you make that budget, you need to stick with that budget. Excuse me. First thing that you need to have is a plan. And when you get that plan, you need to stick with the plan. And then you need to work your budget out. You need to realistically come to Jesus with yourself and figure out how much money you can realistically afford to put into your car. Don't be worried about an inheritance. Don't be worried about hitting the lottery. Don't be worried about working overtime. You need to really see how much money you can afford to put in that car. And then once you come up with your budget, you need to realize my plan says, okay, the plan for my car is going to take $22,000 to build my car. I have a $17,000 budget. So now you need to figure out where you're going to make adjustments to come in the middle of that $5,000. Because this budget, we started out with a budget and it's completely over the hill now. And it happened that way because I changed plans. I changed engines, changed intake setups. I changed everything. I wasn't putting vintage air in the car from the start. So the budget's completely gone. And also, you not following your plan and not realizing a realistic budget is going to kill your project. And you can obviously see the guy that was working on his car before, he didn't know what the fuck he was doing because he had to cut these big holes in the frame to mount the control arms. This is a brand new rear end. Like I think quick performance break-in period is like 500 miles. This thing hasn't had 15 miles. And you see it's already leaking like a pig right here. I mean, it's got, let's see. See, it's leaking fluid every place. You see the puddle on the ground right here. I got my brand new engine and transmission in the car up front, and you don't even see, it don't leak that much. It is probably got twice the amount of fluid as this rear end got in it. And it's not Quick Performance's fault. It's the fault of the builder because he or she doesn't know, well, he doesn't know what they're doing. And when you deal with a builder that doesn't know what they're doing, you're gonna end up like this, a lot of mismatched components. But if you go to a place that knows what they're doing, yes, it is gonna take a lot of money, and yes, it is gonna take a lot of time. The only way you can build cars correctly for like less than what I'm doing and still keep the quality up the same is you either A, gonna deal with a person who doesn't care about making money, or B, you're gonna do it yourself in your garage. So if you're gonna do it yourself in your garage, you can 1000% come out cheaper than me. And your quality can stay the same, but you're gonna put in all of that hard work. So remember, people, make sure all your components match, because there's no reason for you having a rear component back here that can withhold up to 600 horsepower, and you have a 320 horsepower engine in your car that doesn't even run. Yes, it is very nice to tell people, you know, man, I got a quick performance 9-inch in my car. I got anti-roll bars, double adjustable shocks. All of that stuff is nice, but it's not nice when the guy who don't have none of that ride right past you down the street. He just got a factory 7.5 in there. He riding up and down the street having fun and burning rubber and having a good old time. That $5,000 that you spent back here is not that fun no more. When you see somebody riding around, he still got a 7.5 and some KYB shocks in the back and the factory coil springs like you still got. And he having a ball in his car. So I'm always stressing, people, make a plan, stick with the plan, and then give a realistic look to your budget. Know how much money you can afford to spend. And if you can afford to spend $20,000 in just an engine in 2-3 months, if like you can afford to do that, go to your heart's dream. But if you can't afford to do it, then you need to scale back some, because having a car in the garage with $30,000 worth of parts in it will never be as fun as you driving a car that has $5,000 worth of parts. I promise you that. And it will most likely have you either sell the car or never finish the car. So in an end result to this video, I'm gonna say as I always say, come up with a plan, figure out your budget. If your budget doesn't support your plan, figure out which things you cannot have and still get the car running and driving. But there's no point in having the world's best suspension components and a car that does not run. Always emphasize safety first, brakes, wiring, engine, transmission, then suspension. And I would recommend that you go in that order. And if you could afford to paint the car before you do everything else, that would be a plus as well. So let's get these cars on the road. White One Auto.